Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to Living in Coherence, the practice of inner unity. This is our seventh and final session. I thank you for being here, and I thank you for watching the recording and holding space for embracing and incorporating coherence into our daily lives, something that's really important. For those who don't know me, my name is Dorothy Wesley, and I am an attorney, an author, uh, author coach, a wisdom sharer, and a death diva. I consider myself a resource for evolutionary consciousness with evolutionary tools that support us in our journey along the way and stepping day by day as we follow the path of the new reality. I've been on the spiritual, metaphysical, esoteric path for many, many, many decades. And so I bring a very broad perspective. I've had a lot of life experiences, and I just bring a broad perspective for those that are transitioning and moving into the new times that we're living with right now, stepping into our new timelines, which we all are doing at some level, and stepping into the new reality which we're all birthing right now. So I love sharing my journey with everyone, and I love sharing with this community, which is what community is all about, of course. And feel free to join in anywhere along the way if you want. Just lift your hand or let me know in the chat if you have a chance to do that. So to get started, what I like to do is for those of us to attune ourselves together. So let's let's take 3 deep breaths together. So let's close our eyes and be here together. So take a deep breath in and let it out through your nose or mouth. And another deep breath in and let it out through your nose or your mouth. And one more deep breath in through your nose or your mouth. And bring love and compassion. And listen to the sound of my voice as we come together here. And let's stay with that feeling as we begin. Even if you're watching the recording, it's good to do that too, to attune together. So, if you haven't been here before, one thing I love to do is remind us why we do this work together, why this inner work is so important. So many people say it's not important. What difference does it make? Who cares? I mean, that life is too tough. And I say, you know what? It's very important. I always want to remind us that the greatest power we have as a human being is to raise our own consciousness and to consciously evolve ourselves to higher levels of wisdom and awareness and skill. Our consciousness, when raised, really gives us the ability to make better decisions in our lives, who to trust, what to do, just really better decisions in our lives. And whether we realize it or not, when we raise our own consciousness, we get to raise the consciousness of the field within which we all exist. What we feed the field matters. Our lifestyles, our love, our compassion, the kind of feelings that we have add to the consciousness of all of humanity. And when we all need to add that. So as I contemplated our conversation for today, as part of our practice of inner unity and how we embody and embrace coherence in our daily lives, on previous recordings, I talked about, and I just give these, if you're interested in the topics. In a previous recording, I talked about the cow story, which is about things that hold us back from moving forward with our lives. And that supports us in moving into coherence in our lives. And then the next session, I shared a bit about our intuition, how important that is. And then the next one, I talked about how important forgiveness is Forgiveness is another one of those areas that we really need to pay attention to. Forgiveness at all levels, for ourselves and for others. And then last week, I shared about how the practice of neutrality really supports us in embodying our coherence. And as I opened to spirit today about what our topic should be for us to talk about, I was guided and directed that part of living in coherence, which is the theme of these sessions here, is about aligning more and more completely with who we really are and what's going within us and what's going on without us. We need to practice being present with everything that's going on, whether we like it or not, of course, as well as the changes that are coming in our lives, the changes that are on the horizon, which we can kind of see, but then again, we may not know what's coming up. And cosmic events like the winter solstice provide us the opportunity to maximize our potentials in these changing times. And what I'm talking about here is aligning ourselves and bringing ourselves to be present as often as possible. And it's actually about integrating and embodying, aligning with our heart's knowingness, our high heart. This is the way of the new reality, is staying in our heart. Not so much the mind anymore. You know, the mind, the age of reason is transitioning into the age of the heart, where our heart's knowingness is what's important, and being present with that. And both of these practices or experiences, alignment and presence, are internally instructive and support us for stepping onto our new timelines and into the new reality. I feel mostly we find ourselves going from the heart to the mind to the brain to the past to the present to the future, just kind of all over the place, right? Which is what we do. That's part of being human. I know I do it because I'm human too. No, I don't believe that. The point I want to make is that our journey through this time of transition, of which we're really going through a time of change, is so often between the energies from the heart and the brain, the mind, the mad, the past, that we bring ourselves, that we just stop. We stop. We get so, even when we're driving, we get going. We get the mind is going, and we just bring ourselves back to the present moment, being here now, looking out the car window, looking at the other cars, bring ourselves back to the present moment. And when bringing ourselves back to that present moment, aligning with love, the feeling of love, or the feeling of compassion, or the feeling of gratitude, or stillness, whatever feels right, you bring that in. And that's becoming present with that feeling. And we can do it right here, right now. Let's do that. Okay, let's just stop and bring ourselves present. Let's be right here, right now, to the sound of my voice. Now take a breath. Be present. And align with one of those feelings, with love, gratitude, forgiveness, compassion. Just feel it. Just feel it. Does anyone want to share anything about that? Robin? Denny? John? Okay. Well, when we align ourselves in this manner, we're shifted. Didn't you feel shifted? I felt shifted. That's one of the wonderful things about stopping and doing that is, whether we're aware of it or not, it's for the highest good for ourselves, our family, our planet, our cosmos. It expands out when we stop and become present. And we don't have to just stop. It's about the practice of coming back to it, right? We're connected to the collective field of consciousness that we're all in. Now, basically, I think we understand that alignment means getting lined up, to be in the sequence with whatever we're aligning to. In our case, we want to align with deeper spiritual and personal development. That's the direction I think we're traveling. That's what we're here for. And Spirit is telling me that it's really and truly time for us to align ourselves with that essence that we are, that connection to all that is, our soul connection. to the ethical pathway of life, to taking the high road, no matter what's going on, taking the high road, to be that compassion, to be that peace. And if we want to be the change we want to see in the world, and most of us do if we're on this evolutionary path, we need to align with that energy, with our high heart. The chaos and distortion that's going on right now as the old world strives to hang on to the way it used to be, which it can't. But God knows it's trying to hang on to the way it used to be, and it's causing emotional and physical pain for so many people. And that's part of being aligned with our heart's knowingness, is to let that go, to not be attached to that. I loved it when a good friend of mine, Solara, talked many years ago about, she thinks there was a subspecies of humans on this planet who just didn't care about the environment, it didn't care about feeding the hungry or taking care of people. They just seem to be totally lacking in compassion or understanding. And it's us, those of us who are like-minded, those of us who are wanting to change the world and to bring the new reality into existence in the middle of all this chaos. The old world will not quietly go into the background. And so our next step is to help solidify what we're all processing, and that is coherence and aligning ourselves with that energy, that love, that compassion, that understanding. And we have to align with our spirit, our coherence, our compassion, and our consciousness of all that is. Does anyone want to share anything about that? Are we all working on aligning ourselves? I think it's really important. This practice of aligning ourselves and being present is really the state of walking our talk. We hear about it so much. People talk their talk, but do they walk their walk? People talk their walk, but do they walk their walk? And that's what we're going through when we go through our stuff, because we're all going through our stuff. We all have our very own things that we're dealing with on a daily basis. And when we align as often as possible with being present, with aligning with what's the right thing to do, with what our heart is, sometimes minute by minute, we need to ground ourselves in that. That supports our journey. We're provided opportunities for growth and coherence every step of the way, every day, no matter what's going on, no matter who we're with. So many times I would like to lash out at myself for something I said or something I did, or oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what somebody's doing to me. And then I say to myself, he, she, it is my teacher. He, she, it is my teacher. I am to learn how to respond, not react. Whatever the situation is teaching me that. And when you bring that into your mind, when you realize that that can bring you to presence and align with your heart, you don't have to lash out at yourself or others. You can respond. Become present. Watch, listen, observe without judgment. So being in the present at its core brings us to a heightened level of awareness or a heightened level of consciousness. And that heightened level of awareness or consciousness really follows our heart connection with the oneness of everything. When I'm not being present, I tend to be so distracted. Maybe I'm thinking about the past and what I did, or I think about the future and what I'm going to do, or I'm thinking about this, or I'm thinking about that, or what I'm going to do or what I'm not going to do. And yet I found, and this is really the whole point of what I'm talking about today, I have found that when I stop just for a second and align with my heart's knowingness, what am I feeling? Bringing in the love or compassion or understanding, then I become so present with all that is. You know, sometimes just looking outside the window, looking outside myself brings me present. We can become more loving and compassionate and much more understanding about the connection that we have with all that is. So in conclusion, I just want to share a few ideas about how we practice presence. Now, so first is the breathing. So you first take a breath and align yourself with your heart center. Simply bring your level of attention to your heart. And then you draw in a deep breath and slowly let it out through your nose. I usually do this about 3 times to bring myself present. Another practice is to be the witness. And that means to become aware of what you're doing right now, exactly what you're doing in any given moment. Observe it, name it, look at it, but don't get caught up in it because, boy, you got the next minute coming and the next minute, and there's a way. Being present now means observing where you are and what you're doing without judgment because you don't get caught up in it. And then another is just to let it all go. Much like bearing witness or engaging witness consciousness as the wisdom teachings talk about. Whatever it is there in that moment, let it go. Just be here, right now. Boom, that's all. That's another way of a practice of presence. And come back to the breath. Anytime you find the world or your thoughts intruding in your life, including your monkey mind, simply come back to the breath. Inhale and release. Inhale and release. The breath can create a constancy of presence for us if we choose to show up for it. I feel that taking the time to align ourselves and become present is a form of meditation without meditating. The stillness, usually in meditation, in this case, comes from action, aligning, breathing, attending, witnessing, and breathing, releasing. This simple cycle can profoundly change the way we experience our world. I know it has for me, and it continues to do for me because life is happening every day. So align to your very own unique presence. It supports us in our practice to live in coherence. And another thing, as I'm closing here, another thing I like to close with is a reminder that coherence has become a term that embraces fields as diverse as quantum physics, cosmology, physiology, as well as subtle energy, brain, heart, and consciousness research. I think coherence, becoming coherent, heart and mind coherence is really, really important, and we need to spread the word about how important coherence is. Roland McCready of HeartMath said coherence is the key to the upshift of this planet. So let's focus on opening more and more and expanding our heart energies more and more, becoming coherent, living in coherence in our daily lives. Thank you so much for being here with me or for watching this recording. I hope you enjoyed it. I sure did. If you would like more, please join my email list for my Wisdom for the New Reality newsletter, which I send out on the first of every month. Just go to my website, dohertywesley.com. If you have any questions, if you're watching a recording, if you've got anything to say to me, please email me at doherty@dohertywesley.com. You can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn, YouTube, of course, and Instagram. I love you very much. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you watching the recordings and for being on this journey with me as we tap more and more into our very own coherence. Aho.